Welcome to Into It with the Intuitive. I'm your host, Julie Bachos. Are you ready to get into it? Let's get started. Thanks for joining me today. Today I want to share with you the answers that I got to the question, what do women need to hear? When I was meditating and sitting in my quiet time, I asked Divine Source, what is it that women really need to hear? And what I got was 8 answers. Number 1 was that we are not in competition with each other. I did a little bit on this in a prior podcast where I talked about you can't beat your sister. And what that means is you can't beat someone that you were never in competition with in the first place. The world would like us to believe that as women we're in competition with each other, but we're not. We were created to support and encourage each other. And the bigger division they can kind of wedge between us, the better, because then we will never be able to walk in our divine feminine power, because part of that is community and connection. Number 2, one path may not be right for you, but it is right for someone else. We only need to be concerned with our own path. This has to do a little bit with judgment. When we look at someone else's life, we tend to compare. And what this means is our journey through this lifetime, our path, how we get to the end of the road is not going to look like anyone else's. And it's when we start to try to compare and contrast our life and our journey, and we try to make other people conform to what works for us, that's when we're really doing a disservice, because our journey isn't supposed to be someone else's. And we need to just let that thought go and let them walk in the truth of what they are uncovering and discovering in their own lives. Number 3 was, until you love yourself, you can't allow others to fully love you. We can't allow others to fully love us if we don't love and accept ourselves. Why is that? Because who are they really loving? If we're constantly putting our need for acceptance and approval into the hands of someone else, it's going to be dependent on how they view us, what they think about us, and their own unknowing kind of standards and prejudices. So really, it's our own love of ourselves that's going to fulfill us. And until we love ourselves, we can't really show our authentic person to anyone else. That's why it's so important that we really spend the time healing anything that's keeping and stopping us from truly walking in love, honor, and respect of all parts of ourselves, both exterior and interior. We need to really put down that stick of judgment against ourselves and be as kind to ourselves as we are to those around us. The 4th thing that I heard was that the definition of beauty is yours to create. You don't have to take the world's definition on as your own. I was watching the Victoria's Secret kind of biography about how the brand got started, how they targeted women, and really the image was all made up by a man, these 2 men that were in charge of the company. It goes to show how what is considered the ideal feminine body was really put into place by a man. And it's this unattainable image. I mean, it's not even real with all of the altering and touch-ups that they do. And so it really is your choice as to how you are going to define beauty for you. You don't have to take the world's definition. You don't have to take the media's definition. You don't have to take any man's definition. What does beauty mean to you? When you look at other women, what do you see as beautiful in them? And I'm not talking about things that maybe you envy or are jealous of. I'm talking about those things that you really respect,
those things that you really honor in those other women. And I think that maybe by doing so, you'll be able to kind of redefine what that beauty means to you. For me, I spent years trying to lose weight because I did not fit into that image that the world said I should. I used to say that I wasn't built for speed, I was built for strength because I have very large leg muscles and arm muscles. It's just who I am, it's how I was created. If I would have stopped to just look at how amazingly strong I was and how much I could do because of that strength, I would have been probably a little less hard on myself. I mean, I'm glad I was strong because all of my 4 kids were pretty much 10 pounds, so I needed that strength to be able to carry, nurture, and take care of them. It's when we stop to look at the positive things about what makes us unique that we can really begin to define our own beauty. Number 5, life can be incredibly tough, but you can always find a sliver of hope in the darkness if you are brave enough to look. It's very easy for us to fall into that victim mentality when something horrible happens. And that doesn't mean that it's not any less horrible. It just means that we get to choose our perspective as to how we're going to look at it. We are going to try to find the positive in the situation. Sometimes that's really difficult, and sometimes it's going to take you years before you're even able to look at it with that perspective. I know that when we left our old church, I had to go through some healing before I could actually go back and look at the positives, what I got out of that, what I learned about myself. And really, it just showed me how strong I was, how smart I was, how determined I was to really study and figure things out for myself. So what that goes to show us is even in some of our most traumatic times, we can find something that was positive if we are strong enough to look. Number 6, no job, man, material, or clothing size will ever bring you as much joy and happiness as accepting and embracing your authentic self. When you learn to be content with who you are and what you have, you open up a whole nother level of joy and peace in your life. I know we used to have I think it was like a wood sign on our wall that said, it's not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. And to me, that just made so much sense because when we're content with what we have, we're happy. We're not wanting the next thing. We're not wanting to keep up with what our neighbor just did or put conditions like, I'll love myself when on our lives. We can just sit and have peace and be grateful for all of the things we have. This is why a daily gratitude practice is so important to me because it helps me refocus onto all of the amazing things in my life that make me happy and bring me joy. It can be something as simple as the bird feeder outside of my window so I can watch birds, or the new candle that I got with the wonderful scent, or it could even just be that I am taking time to do something that brings me joy, which ultimately is self-care. Number 7, if you don't learn to follow and trust your own intuition, you allow yourself to be vulnerable to others' ideas of what your life should look like. When my kids were little, we taught them how to tap into their own intuition. We felt that if we could teach each of our children that even when we weren't around, they would always have the source of wisdom that would lead them in the right direction. Whether we're 2 or 100, this is a gift that we need to make sure that we're utilizing daily. Because if we aren't tapping into our own intuition, then we're relying on ourselves and other people to make those decisions for us. Now, relying on ourselves isn't necessarily horrible because we do have that certain natural intuition, but I will tell you that I would rather make a decision tapped into what that divine knowledge inside of me thinks is best than to go in blind. And I definitely don't want to be swished back and forth in the waves, following someone else's desires and needs for me in my own life. Number 8. Lastly, I heard wear what you want and never apologize for it. If someone has an issue with how you dress, that is their lesson to learn, not yours. Simply smile and move along. We never need to apologize for taking up space. If what you have on makes you happy and you feel good, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, even if it goes against the social norm of what certain people should or should not wear. There is no norm in our lives. We get to define it. So wear what you like, enjoy your life, and be happy. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. I hope to see you back soon.